Welcome, everybody. I want to say, first of all, a few words about Feminenza. We started off really focusing on working with women and trying to help women discover their strengths, their capacities, their abilities. But it was brought home to me very early on that we really needed to include the men as well. One way or the other, we found ourselves focusing on this issue. Well, what is forgiveness? Why is it important in life? And what we're going to look at today, during the course of the day, is we're going to look at forgiveness from many different perspectives. From the personal perspective, the personal stories. From religious perspectives. Later on, we're going to have an Anglican priest and an imam here to join us at the panel to talk about their perspectives about forgiveness. And also, I'm going to say a few words about forgiveness in relation to how do you help whole communities recover from bloodshed and atrocity. And my experience of traveling around the world has brought me to a view that there are many problems in this world, like war, like terrorism, like poverty, like disease, like environmental degradation. And we tend to think that the answer is, let's just throw money at it, let's just throw money at it, let's just give aid, But what I find when I'm with people in those places where the crisis is really happening, like currently in Kenya, they understand that those solutions are only effective up to a certain point. Yes, people need support. Yes, they need economic assistance. But the real issue is, how do we learn to live together? What is humanity? What is forgiveness? How do we as humans, all the clever words in the world aren't going to solve those problems, which can only be solved through the human heart, through the human soul. I want to use the analogy of the human body heals itself. You cut your finger and it heals. I've come to see forgiveness as like the white blood cells of a higher intelligence, which allows us to become stronger and more immune to the diseases and the pain of human heritage. Because it's kind of like we have to build this immunity. First of all, we get sick with it. Yeah, we get the whole of human heritage. We grow up in it. It gets thrown at us, and we get caught in it. But then, how do we build this kind of higher immunity? And if you keep scratching a wound, it won't heal. We know that. So my question then is, what is the mindset that allows us to stop scratching that wound, that mental or emotional wound? And building a commitment to remedy is what I want to talk about. Now, what do I mean? When it says here, the remedial balm of forgiveness can help us find release as we live from things that have happened that we cannot change, but in the place of which we can build something better. You have to, first of all, kind of invite it into your life. I spent years not being sure at all about the role of forgiveness in my life. And the first time it really hit me was when my first husband decided to leave out of the blue. And I discovered 3 months later he had moved in with somebody else. And the anger that I felt was enormous. And I remember waking up every morning with this anger, this fury, how dare he, how dare she? And it was eating me up from the inside. And somehow, after a period of a few months, it began to dawn on me that this wasn't allowing me to get on with my life, because this was obsessing me all the time. And it takes time, just like it takes time for a wound to heal. It doesn't just heal overnight. But gradually there came a point where one morning I woke up and I thought, you know what? I just want to let go of this. I just want to let go of this. I just don't want this pain in my life anymore. And that drove me at that moment to say, I forgive him, I forgive her, you know, their life is their life now, it's their problem, I'm going to move on with mine. And the feeling of joy was unbelievable. I remember kind of skipping through that day thinking, I'm free, I'm free. And it was all in here, it was all in my head. It requires work. It requires continually arguing through in oneself. That's what I found. I had to continually go through the arguments. Why should I forgive? You know, what is the purpose of it? Until I convinced, almost like every cell of my body, that that is what I wanted to commit myself to. And I found that that process meant that when I am faced with very difficult situations, there's something in me that sort of pulls me back from the brink, yeah, that kind of stops me picking up that knife or whatever it is. I'm not naturally a violent person, but... and so I've committed myself to never abdicate from what I think is true human work. And I think true human work is to bring remedy, to evolve, to improve this place.